Now, the overwhelming majority of you will assume that the Bible and religion are both one and the same, but today I'm going to show you that there's the Bible and then you have religion. Now, in my life, I've heard people say that there's, many contradictions in the Bible while not showing not one contradiction in the Bible. However, they don't know that the Bible actually contradicts religion. You see, people will believe whatever somebody tells them. I don't. This is how deceived people deceive people. Let's get into it. Revelation 12 and 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Now, a lot of you will see these buzzwords and assume that they're coming out of these religions. You see words like dragon, serpent, devil, and Satan. But this is exactly how you're the one that's deceived. You see, it clearly shows you that Satan is the quote unquote angel of deception. Well, doesn't deception exist in the earth today in reality? I guess reality is now, according to that understanding, religious all of a sudden. You see, nothing about this book is religious. You have people that are attempting to insert their religion into the book where it doesn't fit. You see, these people are just liars. They have ulterior motives, whether it be, money, whether it be just power over you, etc. Just really as a test to see if you will believe them or not. And most of you just fall for whatever you hear. Let's see what the Bible actually says about liars. We're going to start with Proverbs 19 and 22. It says, the desire of a man is his kindness, and a poor man is better than a liar. This is very simple and clear and to the point. Now, this gets paired up with Sirach for obvious reason. It says, three sorts of men my soul hate. So he's about to share three types of men that he absolutely hates, and the fact that he has to breathe the same air as them because he's greatly offended at their life. A poor man that is proud, a rich man that is a liar, and an old adulterer that dotes. Relevant to this discussion, we have a rich man that is a liar. It's better to be poor in the street than to be a liar. It's better to have the truth than to be a snake, a deceiving serpent, as described in Revelation 12 and 9. Now, this is contrary to reality. This is contrary to religion, where nobody cares if anybody's lying as long as the lie makes them feel good. Let's continue. Now, a lot of you will ask the fair question, well, who wrote the Bible? What's so important about it? Who wrote it? Blah, blah, blah. Some of you guys will answer with this nonsense, that white man, woo de woo woo woo. Well, let's see. We're going to go to Exodus 31 and 18. And he gave unto Moshe, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 sapphires of testimony, sapphire stones written with the finger of Elohim. Now, the last time that I checked, the Most High is above any man. As a matter of fact, he made the very nature that man needs to thrive on in order to live. This does not sound like some European is the master behind anything in this book. But let's keep it pushing. We're going to learn today. Let's keep it pushing. Job 32, starting at verse 7. I said, days should speak, and a multitude of years should teach wisdom. We're going to come back to this wisdom later on in this topic today. But there is a ruach, a spirit in man, And the inspiration of El Shaddai gives them understanding. So we clearly see the takeaway that days are going to speak as if, a day has a mouth in order to teach wisdom. You see what I'm saying? This is the inspiration of the Most High God, that through time you learn. It's nothing like an old fool who has not learned anything in his life. The fact of the matter is, these days, these years, these millennium are teaching men. It's just that these men are writing down what they've learned and putting it in a book. Again, these tribulations inspired by the Most High God are to teach men. This is how the Most High speaks. This is not European. Now, this is a contradiction. This is not European cartoons and movies where God literally is coming down and using literal words. It does not work like that. This is reality. Then we have 2 Timothy 3:16. It says, all scripture is given by the Ruach of Elohim, the spirit of Elohim, and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. So these scriptures that are, yes, written by physical men is given by the inspiration that we've already outlined through days, years. This is what teaches men. The Most High is also called the Ancient of Days. He's the ultimate teacher because he's the ultimate source of wisdom. I could get into like atheists and all of that, but that's besides the point today. That's another form of deception, upon deception, because atheists will rebuke religion, but you can't rebuke the Bible because there's religion and then there's the Bible. People think that they're one and the same. You can't attack something head on from the position of deception. You got to know what you're really attacking. Are you talking Bible or are you talking religion? Another great question is, who then has the authority to teach the Bible? Not we. Some of you guys will go to church on Sunday morning and get taught something from some pastor with a large congregation, and you assume that because the congregation is large, that he's just anointed by the Most High. That's another form of deception. I don't care how many people is following somebody. I'm going to look and see if what they're saying, what they're teaching is coming out of the book. Let me show you what I'm talking about. 1 Peter 4:11. If any man speaks, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man speaks, let him speak according to what he learned in seminary school. Let him teach according to, what he was taught in college. You guys need to ask yourself, did so-called Jesus Christ, did Hamashiach go to seminary school? Did he go to college? If he was actually here today, would you follow him even though he didn't have a large following? But he got that truth. But let's continue. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives. This word ability means authority. So these authority of these pastors need to come from the Most High, not from the religious organizations that you guys love to follow. Today's Christianity is not the biblical Christianity. It's something complete. Today's meaning of Christian is just a religion. There's the follower of Christ that's keeping the law, which is how you follow Christ. But then religions today say you don't have to keep the law. Deceived people deceive people. That Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahushua HaMashiach. Nothing really just irritates me more when I see somebody start a debate, discussion, whatever, and they'll say, giving all honor and glory to the Most High. And then they'll go off at just doctrines that they've regurgitated or that they've made up themselves. It's a blatant contradiction to what we're reading. How are you going to get a Most High honor and glory and then lie? You give honor and glory to the Most High by speaking according to his oracle and the ability that he gave you, not some man gave you. One of my favorite questions is actually a pretty dumb question. How do we know you have the proper interpretation? Let's see if I have the proper interpretation. We're going to go to 2 Peter. Knowing this first, that no prophecy of the scripture is of any private interpretation. This being said, am I able to then have a private interpretation? Of course. But am I authorized to have a proper interpretation? No, no. Yeah, no, no. No, no. You see, just because somebody does have a private interpretation, this goes against the book. They're not authorized to have that. The majority of your religious leaders, and in a lot of times like camp members, have their own private interpretations. Let's look further into it. 1 Thessalonians 5:21. Prove all things. Hold fast that which is good. So if somebody wanted to accuse me of having a private interpretation, I'm cool with it. The thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to require them to prove all of my private interpretations. You see how this works? You don't get to just throw something out because you've been indoctrinated to believe something a certain way, where you're the one that has the private interpretation. How do I quote something verbatim? Multiple witnesses at that. And that's a private interpretation. But then you can't explain how it's a private interpretation. Somebody's being deceived. Let's get back into it. Now, where does understanding come from? How do we know somebody has the proper understanding? I've heard Christians say, believe it or not, oh, just pray. Just pray, 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 pray. Well, we're going to see if that's the right answer using the book. Psalms 119 and 104. Through your precepts, I get understanding. So it's very clear that the answer is not praying. It's through your precepts, I get understanding. Therefore, I hate every false way. Notice the contrast between the precept and the false way. The precept is the truth. Everything outside of that precept is false. Now, people do misuse precepts, but then there's other elements to this. As we're going to get into, they have to line up. Just because I quote 15 scriptures doesn't mean that's even relevant to the damn discussion. Man, I see that a lot in the camp community, but let's dive further deep into this. You know, I remember one time somebody asked me a question of my credentials, and I told this clown, these precepts are my credentials. Couple of similar questions get asked in the book of Isaiah. Let's take a look at it. Isaiah 28, starting at verse 9. Whom shall he teach knowledge, and whom shall he make to understand doctrine? We're going to see the answer to these two basic and very fair questions. Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. But what does this mean? What does this actually mean when the answer is to be weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast? Well, what we're going to do is follow these basic instructions. We're going to use a precept to get the understanding. Like I'm literally showing you this while showing you this. We're going to go to Hebrews 5, starting in verse 12. Then we'll come right back. For the time you ought to be teachers, same context, different place. You have need that one teaches you again. That's a key word again, which be the first principles of the oracle of Elohim. Now, this word oracles is like an utterance, okay? It's not that what you was shown in the movie The Matrix. This is completely, this is foundational here. and are become such as have need of milk. Notice the milk here. Didn't we see you needed to be weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast, and not of strong food? For everyone that uses milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a baby. So when we see this, you have to be retaught. Say I'm a religious pastor or anybody under some religious order. If I want to be like a true teacher and understand doctrine, I have to then be retaught. That stuff in seminary school needs to be flushed out of your brain, and you need to start all over again like a baby sucking from the breast. From then you can move on to solid food, but it has to be the foundational milk of the oracles of Elohim. This being said, now we're going to go back to the book of Isaiah. Being weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. Let's continue. We have that understanding now. That's who's going to teach knowledge and understand doctrine, coming from the oracle, the milk. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. This is very simple. Your precepts is where you get the oracles of Elohim. Not some religious pastor, not some Catholic priest, Christian this, Methodist that, but all of these religions have nothing to do with the book. The Most High never said, in order to understand and follow me or whatever, or Christ, you have to join a religion. Psalms 119 and 40 says, behold, I have longed after your precepts. Quicken me in your righteousness. Now, this righteousness is literally the same righteousness that we just saw in Hebrews 5. It's the milk, the oracle. To start over again in teaching and learning. It's not righteousness established by some religious pastor. People really need to stop with this. I want to get closer to God. Boom, instantaneously follow a religion. You do that, you're going to be deceived. Psalms 80:18 also says there's a lot of wisdom in Psalms. So will not we go back from you, quicken us, and we will call upon your name. Notice that contrast to not go back, quicken us, but the quickening is in the precepts. You can't be in the precepts and expect this quickening. So what does quickening mean? Let's get some more understanding. We're going to go to John 6 and 63. It is the Ruach, the spirit, that quickens. The flesh profits nothing. The words, the precepts, remember that I speak unto you, they are the Ruach and they are life. These words are life. These words are living water. The milk. It's not literal life. This is spirit. It says spirit. See, there's spiritual life and physical life. The life that Adam was given was the spiritual life because he was already physically living. Romans 4 and 17. As it is written, I have made you a father of many nations. Right here, Paul is quoting the oracle. He's using a precept. Paul's using precepts, but Christians don't. You know, Christians are not followers of Christ. They're followers of Paul when it's convenient. But this is an example, though, of just Paul quoting from the oracles of Elohim using a precept. Very simple. I have made you a father of many nations before him whom he believed, even Elohim, who quickens the dead and calls those things which be not as though they were. The quickening is a contrasting position to death because, again, we just saw that quickening means to give life, opposite of the dead. But what does the dead mean? Paul also informs us of this. Romans 6 and 23. For the wages of sin is death, But the gift of Elohim is eternal life through Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, our Adonai. So we see that sin is equated to death. Just like we just saw the quickening through the precepts, that's what gives life. But somebody might ask, well, then what is sin? A lot of y'all think y'all know, but y'all don't. So 1 John 3:4, whosoever commits sin transgresses also the Torah. For sin is the transgression of the Torah. So I'm no rocket scientist, but if sin is equated to death, but then sin is defined as going away from God's law, then what are you Christians doing if you're saying the law is done away with? Sounds like somebody's been deceived. And this is in your favorite testament. Christians create this beef battle between Old and New Testament. And it's like, it doesn't matter which testament it is. It's all going to say the same thing, that you have to keep God's law. But then this God's law only applies to the people that received God's law, not religions. But then they've religified the people that received God's law by making that nation of people a religion somehow. But it's just deception upon deception upon deception upon deception. First Baruch 4 from the top. This is the sefer of the commandments of Elohim. These commandments that are, according to Christians, done away with. In the Torah that endures forever. All they that guard it shall come to life, but such as leave them shall die. So when you leave these commandments, you're equated to a dead person. Just Paul literally said the same thing. Old Testament, New Testament, saying the same damn thing. Commandments, life, leaving the commandments, which is sin, death. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. You don't have to know quantum physics. You don't have to go to seminary school. You don't have to join a group of people. You just have to follow the oracles of Elohim. For wisdom, this is Ecclesiastes 7:12. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom gives life to them that have it. Wisdom here gives life. This wisdom is no different from the wisdom that we're about to see. Is it going to be different from keeping the commandments? Well, let's find out. Sirach 1:26. If you desire wisdom, guard the commandments. That's how wisdom gives you life. Then Yah shall give her to you. This is real wisdom. I don't know what else to say. People will believe anything. And I know there's people that call themselves trying to protect themselves because they can't handle reality. So they want to believe what makes them feel good. There's something wrong with those people because they're adding to the problem. And finally, in Christians' favorite testament, from allegedly Christians' most favorite person, out of the mouth of Christ himself, John 14:15. If you love me, guard my commandments. I've seen Christians try so desperately to make this, oh my goodness. They will say, see, it says my commandments, meaning Christ's commandments. So it's different from God's commandments. But I thought Christians taught that Christ was God. Even though that's false. But see the contradiction in religion? You claim Christ is God, but then Christ is saying, keep my commandments. But then you're saying commandments are done away with. It's like, where's the common sense? But then these commandments don't even apply to the Christian religion. They apply to the nation of Israel, the entire nation, not just the Jews. But clearly in Christians' favorite testament, it's telling them to keep the commandments. But they will put their pastor above the book. Oh, you don't have to keep those commandments. The Christ did away with them. So Christ must be bipolar then, because he's saying one thing 1 minute, then another minute he's saying something completely different. But that's religion. That's deception. I've literally have watched people regurgitate something that they've heard. Like they would even hear it. They would hear something and then not even test it to see if it's true. They'll regurgitate that thing. And it's just like, you're not going to see if what you're saying to somebody else is true. And then both these dummies have believed it without even trying it, putting it in the fire, asking questions, investigation. A liar is a liar no matter if they know that they're lying or not. All you have to do is just say something and it not be true. That's why I call them dummies, when they just blindly believe anything that anybody tells them. You are a dummy. Again, a dummy is the opposite of wisdom. The Most High does not deal with dummies. If you want to be a fool, be a fool. The Most High will not be with you. Why should he be with you? You're choosing to be a fool. I just wanted to get that point across. This is my, as I'm reestablishing the quality of my content, I wanted this to be the first lesson, because every topic that I do is going to hang on this first video. So my next few videos is going to be actually dealing on the Christ thing. So-called Jesus, you probably heard me say. So, but as far as deception goes, that's all I have for now, as it is written, and I'm out.